Today's topic is how can we build up India's competitiveness? Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be with you once again. And today I'm very happy to have someone from my own hometown, Jaipur, who studied law and economics, 50 years in public policy, and has built a global NGO sitting right in Jaipur. I'm very proud to have him here. And let's turn it over to him and let's see what he has to propose. Over to you, Mehta Sahib.
Just now I read a news item from Moody's service, rating service, that the progress which India wishes to achieve over the next few years, the desire of our Prime Minister that we should become a rich country or developed country by the year 2047, when we turn 100, seems very difficult because of the kind of bureaucratic situation that we are faced with, the kind of problems with businesses faced with, etc. And that then boils down to the larger question of competitiveness and not just being able to do business in an easy way. In fact, the same Subodh also applies to a citizen, even ease of life. For example, just give you a small example. I drove from Jaipur to Delhi with a carrier on my SUV carrying baggage, and I was stopped by the police in Jaipur saying that, look, you're not allowed to use a carrier unless you're a taxi. It's a very stupid, no, it's a very stupid rule, but it's symbolical of the kind of stupidities of many of our rules and laws which are developed in only order to promote rent seeking.
Mhm.
And
By the
that
way,
is
Mehta Sahib,
that
let
is
me
a
stop
larger
you.
problem
No,
in
let me
terms of,
stop you there. Rent
yeah,
seeking is a technical term that economists use, and it is
right.
a sign of corruption and waste of resources. It's a way rent seeking. Rent is an economist term for extracting money from somebody else. It's not like having a rental housing. It's a way
Yeah.
to extract money. So I'm sorry that you are
No, no,
using.
thank you for that clarification. I
Yeah,
mean, we
yeah, it's
often,
so India is a rent-seeking society. In short, it's looking for ways to extract money from
corruption is
ordinary.
very high,
Yeah,
and it is just expanding, in
yeah,
spite of our Prime Minister's ardent desire to reduce corruption. It is not happening in this way.
okay.
Now, all this then impacts our competitiveness in the sense that an entrepreneur cannot really work in a manner which will be smooth for him. And
Mhm.
therefore, many of our entrepreneurs have succeeded when they go out.
Yes.
They don't, they do succeed in India. It's not as if that so many of them don't, except that it is always a very uphill task.
Hmm.
Transaction costs are very high. I'm talking not only about illegal or unofficial under the table transaction costs, but even over the table. Our electricity charges, for example, are very high. You'd be surprised that in India and most states charge industries a greater rate on electricity than they charge domestic consumers. So it's a kind of a cross subsidy. Now, there are several such examples. Human capital, of course, one of the biggest inputs for competitiveness, which includes education, health, and skilling, is woefully inadequate in most states of our country. Some states are doing well. I would say some of the southern states are doing better. Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra, etc., are doing much better than the other states in the country that we have. And the other problem so is that they don't learn from each other also.
No, they
One
don't.
of yeah, no, one of the recipes, one of the recommendations for this is to have a cross learning among states without any central interference. This is
Yes.
a model which is there in the USA, Nigeria, Australia, Canada, many other places where the states have their own body and they talk to each other without the interference of the federal government. It gives them much more freedom, much more comfort levels to be able to exchange information and do. For example, in the US, the National Governors Association is very active.
Yes.
Even in a developing country like Nigeria, which is similar to India and politically, you have strong democracy, you have parties fighting each other. Uh, they do have a Nigerian Governors Association, which works perfectly well. So, I mean, that is one example of what I'm talking about in a quasi-federal setup like India. Now, why? Just to clarify to the viewers, India is not a federal country like the other federal countries. We still have a lot of powers which are under the control of the union government, which is what is colloquially called the central government.
Yeah, I understand. I always say union government.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
If you look at the constitution, the word central government doesn't exist.
Well,
It's only the union government.
I've made this point hundreds of times, but go ahead, please.
No, there are several factors. There are several things which are happening at the union level, like ease of doing business, in the sense that there's a big thrust. And what is interesting is that the union government is doing, is to do a comparative analysis of how states and ranking them on EODB, which is very good. But the problem is that you're not hitting at the root of the problem. The root of the problem is corruption.
Mm-hmm.
And accountability being zero, corruption continues to thrive and prosper. I mean, every other day I read Subodh, of cases where convicted officers have been reinstated,
Yeah.
or nearly convicted, I would say. Charge
Yeah, yeah,
sheeted officers have
yeah.
been,
Okay,
I wouldn't
fine.
say convicted, but
Yeah.
charge sheeted officers have been, and charge sheet has never been taken to its conclusion, with the
Okay.
result that this fellow is back in saddle and making money. So all that aside, so there are several factors. I mean, I can list them out numerically, but just to say that competitiveness is built upon four essential pillars. One is
Yeah,
to have a good
please.
competition policy,
Yes.
good competition law. We don't have a competition policy; we have a competition law.
Yeah.
Then we are talking at interfirm cooperation, which is not collusion but cooperation, which is extremely important. See, one of the things what we have found, which is very successful in many parts of the world, including in India, is a cluster-based approach. I mean, you may have the diesel engine and the lock industry in Aligarh, the diesel engine industry in Rajkot and Agra, and so on and so forth. That cluster-based approach then leads to higher productivity and lesser cost than what you would do if the units were dissipated or dispersed.
Yeah.
Then the third factor is the issue about ease of doing business, as to how you ensure that rules are made in a way that and there is stakeholder consultation. The fourth is what we call is regulatory impact assessment as a part of the third. I would say not fourth, but part of the third, that you
Mm-hmm.
have to get rid of all the flab uh, which exists through a what we call a three-step process. You look at proportionality, necessity, and legality.
Mm-hmm.
And unless any rule or measure or policy measure doesn't pass this test of these three
Mm.
uh, pillars, then they should be, whittled away or done away with. Now, that is something which we are advocating since a long time in order to improve ease of doing business. You can't get rid of corruption. The least you can do is to reduce the scope of corruption.
Right.
One that is happening in India, which is probably one of the best in the world, is digitalization.
Mm-hmm.
We are doing fantastically in terms of digital payments alone. We are way ahead of even the US and many other countries in the world. Last year, the transactions took place, digital payments were nearly 87 billion,
Mm-hmm.
as against say 3 billion in US, for example. I'm just giving a comparative figure to understand this where we stand. So there are a lot of things happening. But more needs to be done. Thirdly, secondly, as the larger issue is how do we get all the states to cooperate and work together? I gave an example of having a state-wise sort of information exchange body. Other than that, how can we do individual meetings? Do that. Problem is our country is too politicized. As it
Mm.
stands today, we
Mm.
are facing a very serious discussion on the inauguration of the new Parliament House by the
Right.
Prime Minister, and 18 parties have decided to boycott it on the
Mhm.
grounds that it should have been inaugurated by the President of India and not the Prime Minister of India. Now, there is a precedent to that which the ruling party has responded. It was Nehru who inaugurated the Parliament House annexing. It was Rajiv Gandhi who inaugurated the Parliament House library. The
Yeah,
Parliament House already existed before independence.
of course.
So there are precedents. Now, in the sense that, to make a silly, and people tend to forget, the opposition party, that, see, Modi has become a larger than life figure.
Mhm.
Just the other day in Sydney, Anthony, I forget his last name. How do you pronounce it? The Australian Prime Minister called him. He's the boss.
Mhm.
I mean, the kind of reception which he got in Sydney, the stadium, uh, the Australian Prime Minister said even Bruce Springsteen did not get this kind of
Okay. All
the
right.
kind of the applause that you could get. But anyway, so coming back to this point about the kind of politics that we have in our countries, uh, some things are happening which are good. Karnataka has been able to, switch the government from BJP to Congress, which is a good sign, in my opinion. But we need a pulsating democracy. We are a pulsating democracy, and that should be proven by the fact is that parties can keep on be changing from the government. I mean, government parties, ruling parties should change. Like it happens in Rajasthan, Subodh, as you know.
Yeah,
Every 5 year
yeah,
we get a
yeah, I know.
government changes.
Okay.
This year we don't know what is going to happen in the election in November. But anyway, coming back to politics is something which we should be able to rise above. Now, social issues are very important. How we government is able to maintain social stability and peace is very critical. But there are a lot of things which are happening, particularly in terms of interreligious rivalries, interreligious, internecine battles, conflicts, which lead to loss of productivity, which leads to a loss of production. People don't seem to understand that. So it's another bigger issue of competitiveness. Uh, Now, if you look at the global competitiveness index being turned out by the World Economic Forum every year, we're quite way down, below
Yeah.
140, which is very poor.
Yeah.
And even a country like Bangladesh is ahead of us
Yeah.
in competitiveness.
Okay. So if I may sort of summarize it, what you're saying is that we have the skills, we have the
Yeah,
people, we have the people, we have the skills, we have the basic system in place, which is a pulsating democracy. Okay, fine. But on that democracy, there are too many social and political factors that hinder rather than help make our firms world class. We could be world class, but what's holding back is us, not somebody else. That's what I hear from you.
hmm.
That the political system holds us back, the social system. Our focus is on too many things other than economic progress and competitiveness. I mean, I'm not expressing my opinion. That's what I'm saying. I hear from you.
No, you are right.
Uh,
You're right. Now, let's talk about what I started off with this
yeah,
Moody's service,
yeah,
report of the survey that bureaucracy. Now there is one problem with this the governance system which keeps bureaucracy risk averse.
yeah,
You know, even after retirement, officers are being hounded.
yeah,
A very honest officer had to go to jail for 2 years.
yeah,
A well-known honest officer who resembles you,
yeah,
Harish Gupta,
yeah,
had to go to jail
yeah.
because of some procedural defect
I
that he
remember
had.
that. I remember that. It's
Yeah,
about, it's related to coal, right?
yeah, coal. He was the
Yeah,
coal secretary.
yeah, I
And
remember.
so
Yeah,
there are several examples like that.
yeah,
I know many friends of mine are facing charge sheets,
yes,
and the charge sheets are hanging on their heads like Damocles sword.
true, true,
They are
true.
not being concluded.
Yeah,
Then the kind of hounding which is happening by using CBI, income tax, and so on, even against NGOs.
yeah,
So all that again are downsides, I would say. This whole system of how we ensure that our democracy is an economic democracy. Now,
Yeah.
let's not forget that economic democracy is what leads to political democracy.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Okay.
It's an essential,
Yeah.
input, and therefore, my worry is that look, there can be aberrations in any society. There can be aberrations, there can be anomalies which can live with, but not very gross anomalies or gross aberrations. That is what is a problem. So
Okay.
that conscience is diminishing. That, this conscience keepers are diminishing. Even we can't afford to be very critical of the government.
True. Okay, well,
We
Mehta
run an
Saab,
NGO.
let me ask you, what is it that you're in your own work you are doing? What is the
Right.
thrust of your work? These are general points, but I know you are doing some very important work. What is the thrust of that work?
Well, we have a wide sort of bandwidth of activities, Subodh.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of work at the grassroots level uh, in southern Rajasthan in India and in other countries, Zambia, Kenya, etc. We do a lot of grassroots work. In southern Rajasthan, we're running a lot of farmer producer organizations,
Mm-hmm.
about 30 or 40 of them,
Mm-hmm.
and we also do a lot of work on women and child.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that is one particular aspect of our work. The second is we do a lot of national work in terms of legislations, in terms of digital economy is one big area of our work nowadays because of the
Okay.
fact that there is so many things happening.
Okay.
Uh, and thirdly, at the international level, we work on trade policy, competition policy, investment policy, etc. And even nationally in the countries that we are in. Now, we also work on US-India economic and strategic relations.
Mm-hmm.
We work actively on WTO issues out of our Geneva Center,
Mm-hmm.
particularly helping least developed countries,
Okay.
poor countries,
Okay.
and so on. So that's, in a nutshell, that I could tell you. Otherwise,
Okay, that's good. I think
can be quite large.
you are running out of your own time. You have a next
Right.
meeting, I know. So let's end it here. Thank you so much. Any last words that you have?
No, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I hope that I was able to meet with your expectations.
No, I have no expectations. I mean, you honestly, the work you are doing is stellar. I just wanted to showcase it, and I think we have done that. That sitting in Jaipur, which is not one of India's largest cities, you are in Africa, you are in Geneva, you are here, you are there, and indeed, we are proud of the work that you are doing. So let's end it here, and we will perhaps come back to you at some other point. I know you have another meeting, so let's end it here.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Bye to the viewers,
Bye.
everybody. I'll be back with another distinguished personality in a few days.